Are you all done farting over there? Because this is a take. Oh, it's a quiet one? Okay. 2, 3, 4. Doo doo beep 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 boop boo. Beep 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 bah. Well, I'm not getting the deposit back now. Hey, hi everybody. My name is Jimmy. Picks up. Hi, 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 hi. Yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm a little giggly. Today at Le Funny Bookstore, that's what they call it in France. They call it actually Le Bon Déjeuner Store. I got Thunderbolts King in Black #1. This is part of the King in Black crossover. Jimmy, what's going on in King in Black crossover? Oh. I just actually started reading Absolute Carnage today or last night. I think it was this morning, which was the big Spider crossover of last year. And the first issue was fine, but it's it's just this weird thing as I get older that I just don't read many Spider-Man books, and I still consider Venom, even though Venom has definitely made himself his own character at this point, and the King in Black crossover is line wide. It's not like Absolute Carnage was mostly in just the Spider titles. But they're going full. I think they might even just be like, we're doing 2 full crossovers. Because last year was a nightmare. But I don't like, okay, so, but the reason I got this, not unlike with the Namor series, is because I'm a big fan of the Thunderbolts. I have every single issue of the Thunderbolts. It's one of the few Marvel, like bigger Marvel runs that I have. And to be honest with you, it's not even that big. The Thunderbolts started in the late 90s. I've told the story a million times, I'm sure. The basic conceit is they are a superhero team made up of supervillains. And that'll take on different qualities, different. There's like, the original was they were really trying to, these supervillains who were trying to sucker everyone into thinking they were superheroes. And then some of them actually did become superheroes. And then for a long time, Thunderbolts was kind of like the government's, it was kind of like Marvel's Suicide Squad. So they would get sent out on missions that, like Black Ops and stuff like that. That was like the Jeff Parker run, which I really liked. I think that was the Jeff Parker run. And then I think it kind of stayed, I want to even say Daniel Way wrote Thunderbolts for a while and kind of kept a similar thing. Yeah, but it was, the Red Hulk was running that squad. Jeff Parker's was all was right after Civil War. It doesn't matter. But, yeah, so I'm excited. So, and then they all look venomized. So you got Batroc the Leaper, one of the stupidest and yet one of the funnest of supervillains. He leaps. And also he talks like savoir-faire East everywhere. Taskmaster, the Rhino, another reliable idiot. This looks like Scourge of the Underworld, but I can't be sure entirely. That looks like Moonstone, who was a Thunderbolts. I think she's been on every single Thunderbolts team, in fact. And I think that might be Null. So it looks like they're all... Null is the dragon, the god of the symbiotes, which is where all this King of Black nonsense comes from. Who cares? It's also written by Matt Rosenberg. I mean, I will read King in Black once it's on the app, but like I said, I'm only just to Absolute Carnage. These are books that I enjoy because they're all Marvel comics, but I just don't need to read them immediately. Like there was another offshoot series, miniseries called King in Black, Planet of the Symbiotes, which like Frank Thierry wrote a story for, and some other writers I like worked on. But it's like those little anthology ones are fun if you're buying the whole thing. But I can wait 6 months to a year to read it on my application. Also this week I bought the Chris Claremont anniversary special. I feel like I think it was last week. I really shit hard on Chris Claremont out of nowhere. Yeah, I think it was last week because he had written a Conan short story for that King Size Conan special, and I will not take back what I said. It was absolutely one of the worst things I've ever read in my life. Even because I feel like especially a lot of fans give Claremont a lot of leeway. Like if anybody else were to be so blah 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 in their writing, we all get this guy out of here. But since Claremont, did it in a time where, the X-Men, it was like the best time for the X-Men. Not that he didn't have anything to do with that. My point is this. I'm going to buy something like this because as a little boy, I read Chris Claremont's X-Men stories, and I love them, love them, love them. So I'm always going to buy some, even though, like, he did a book, gosh, I want to say about 10, 15 years ago called X-Men Forever, which was, he had been the head X-Men writer from 1975 all the way through to like 1993, I want to say, something like that. Maybe 92. Which, I mean, at the time, I don't think was a wreck. I think Stan Lee had written Fantastic Four for longer, but it's up there. It's, very, very long run. And it wasn't just that he was writing the Uncanny X-Men. He wrote the Wolverine limited series with Frank Miller, and then I think he wrote at least the first arc of the Wolverine regular series from '88 that was my first Wolverine series. He also wrote the X-Men with Jim Lee in the early 90s, Adjectiveless X-Men, and that was his last book, in fact, I believe, or technically. So then X-Men Forever picked up from there. Like I think he was just like, hey, I want to come back and I want to do X-Men stories with the X-Men that I created, more or less. And Marvel went, yes, you may, because we know Jimmy will at least buy the first 3. And I did. And it was great. It made me feel nostalgic. And he even wrote Nightcrawler for a little while after that, too. Same deal. Like, oh, this is just like when I was a kid. But then after 10 minutes, I'm like, all right, dude, shut up. There's just so much text with Chris Claremont. And I just skim most of it. So I'm assuming that's what this will be, an apology for using too much text. No, it'll be fun. I feel bad that I think when I was being mad about Chris Claremont, I was mad about something else, and I shouldn't be taking it out on Chris Claremont. Take it out on John Byrne, if anybody. And then I got Space Bastards from the Humanoids. This is, if I'm not very much mistaken, it's the imprint by Jodorowsky, the filmmaker, also comic book artist / writer. Right? That or heavy metal. I can't remember. This is drawn by Derek Robertson. And I think it's written by Derek Robertson. Which means this is the first issue, so we'll probably get part 2. Nope. We'll get part 2 whenever the fuck he wants. Oh, I'm trying to swear. So, Eric Peterson and Joe Aubrey are writing this. They get billing beneath Derek Robertson, which is alright. Traditionally, it goes writer-artist, but since Derek Robertson is definitely the draw for this book, they did a writist-arter. Here's the thing, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I don't know if you can get in on that, Murray, but the cover art is signed by Derek Robertson in 2018. We will not see... This guy takes forever to draw anything, and he's a real kind of stickler about it. But look how fun it'll be. Also, that was me. Sorry. I don't know anything about it. It's called Space Bastards. I don't... Oh, yeah, that's right. I did read the solicit. It is the story of a Danish prince whose father dies, and when he comes home, he discovers that his uncle... Oh, okay, I don't want to ruin it. And then, 4 picks of the week. That's right. I got Man's World this week. This is from the AWA, which is, I can't never remember. But this is one of the indies that's really kind of burning things up, and they're getting marquee talent. Ergo, Victor Gischler. Victor Gischler is actually more of a novelist, but I can't remember the last comic series he's written. He's definitely no stranger to comics, and now I'm having trouble remembering what they are. The last one was called something like See You in Hell or something like that. It had a real cool title like that. Like, I would have bought it even if I didn't know who Gischler was. But it's been, like I say, it's been a little while. And to be honest with you, I don't know that I've ever read the man's novels before. But I remember especially back in, like, the late aughts when I was really trying to be a crime fiction writer. Gischler's name was everywhere. So he's always been a heavyweight to me. And that's been Picks of La La and then Dee Dee Doo Da. So I've not gotten any reading tonight. In fact, this week. I got the picks of the week. But I think I'm going to ditch work. I still haven't worked my day job today, but I think I'm just going to read comics instead. I still have to cook dinner and do my podcast. I have too much to do. But anyway. First up, I read Murders. This is fun. This was more or less it was like I think I was saying last week. It had a very Black Hole vibe. It's also very, very much has an Unkindness of Ravens vibe. I think this predates that little ditty by Yeah, at least 3 years. But and also a $15 price point. I don't know if I noticed that last time. It's a cute little book. I like this, but this is going to be a weird size for me to have to store it somewhere. And I read it in about 20 minutes. It's not that it's not good. It's just kind of a quick read. It looks great. That's good news, and it will have good sort of reread value, I think. But to be honest with this story, it was a little thin. Oh, I meant to look up this David Baker, who I think might be the same guy who's doing that Night Hunters series that I liked from last week. Oh well. It's good. It feels like an early work for both of these creators, but I'm gonna definitely be looking forward. It's David Baker and Nicole Goo, and it's Gous. So I think that's pronounced Goo. It sounds weird to me, but so does the name Jimmy Calloway. I also read last week Future State Swamp Thing #1. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Do I remember anything? No. It's really this whole Future State thing really seems dumb to me. And not in a fun way. If you're any kind of regular reader of superhero comics, there are a lot of things that you're gonna have to, disabuse yourself of, and one of those is like originality. I mean, how many millions of times have Marvel and DC both told tales of, there's Elseworlds and What If and it's imaginary story. There's all that's from almost from day one. There's like just been a real fascination with alternate dimensions and future timelines and whatever the hell else. And I gotta tell you, this feels like one of the weakest, lamest attempts at that sort of thing. And I don't know if that's because I am also aware of kind of what's going on in the industry, though I'm far from an insider. Because as I think I might have mentioned, DC has put everything on pause for 2 months to just put these out. And I really feel like they're just making some sort of push to finally, once and for all, simplify all these characters or whatever the hell their deal is. Push them onto digital, and then they become a niche thing that they don't have to worry about anymore. They don't have to put any more, pen and ink into it. I don't know why they think that's going to work. I'm also just making shit up. I think actually now that I'm hearing myself, I'm just being Chicken Little and the sky's falling. But that doesn't take away the fact that this wasn't that great. I like Swamp Thing. Oh, so the story in this one, it's not a bad premise, I will say that, now that I'm thinking about it, is that it's the far distant future and mankind is no longer alive. And so the Swamp Thing, who we don't know if it's, I was going to call him Ted Sallis, but that's not it. The hell is, look up Swamp Thing's name. Alec? Alan. It's been a while since I've read Swamp Thing. But they don't say one way or the other. Because the Swamp Thing is supposed to be like an avatar. He's not supposed to be just a guy. What's his name? Alex something or other. During the Alan Moore years. He happened to be the avatar. Anyway. So it's in the far future, and the Swamp Thing is in a, recognizable as a swamp thing that we've read about in the past. But he's also managed to create little offshoots of himself who are also kind of like Swamp Thing creatures. And they've made a little family, and they're still trying to find any surviving humans. And then they find one, and he's violent, and it's and it's one of those kind of simple morality tales. I don't know. I guess that's what I get for reading a superhero comic. It looked good. Ooh, on the other hand, we had Eternals #1. This I like a lot more. The Eternals, and I hadn't realized this. The Eternals hadn't had a series since like 2008. Did I say that last week? Look that up. It's been a long time since the Eternals have even really been in the Marvel Universe. And the last person to really take them on was Neil Gaiman. Which now that I thought about it after the fact, I'm pretty sure back in this would have been around 07, 08. I think it was right after Neil Gaiman had created a character named Angela for Todd McFarlane's Spawn comic. She first appeared in issue number 9. And then Todd McFarlane or somebody, I don't know what the story was, but basically they were like, well, we're going to keep using the character. And so Gaiman went, oh, no, you're not. I'm going to sue for it. And he won. And then not only did he do that, he took that character and gave it to Marvel. Which, whew, talk about salt in the earth, but I'm for it. But one of the things, so when he came to Marvel, he was like, I think he was like, yeah, I want to do 1602, which was another alternate universe story, and they said yes. And then he said, I want to do the Eternals. And they were like, okay, yeah, you could do that too. And he did. And they even had it. It wasn't like directly tied to Civil War, but he would like make reference in the Eternals to things that were happening in the Marvel Universe. It wasn't just like 1602 was a separate thing because it was a different dimension or whatever. But anyway, that's got nothing to do with any of this. I thought there was a third project that he wanted to do. Maybe bringing Angela to them was the third thing. I don't remember. This is written by Kieran Gillen, who is also British, and I believe, and he does remind me. He's always reminded me a little bit of Gaiman. Like the dialogue is, these characters are very Shakespearean. They come from that era, that Jack Kirby, the Jack Kirby creations, and Jack Kirby's stuff was always operatic and big in scope and everything. So it's fun watching these characters be kind of smartasses with each other. It's not the first time, but it's definitely. And Kieran Gillen from, what's that book? Him and Jamie McKelvey had that glam rock book that I did enjoy, but I haven't finished. Shit. There's something in the others, or something, I don't remember. There's something in the somebodies. But the same deal. Very big, operatic, Kirby-esque even, I would go so far as to say, but also very snappy with the dialogue and the everything else. So yeah, this is super good. And it also, maybe I'm reading into this, but it also seemed to pick up on a lot of the kind of goofier and cornier aspects of the old comics. Because the whole deal is the Eternals are kind of like guardians for the human race. And put here by the Celestials, or these giant space beings that don't talk. And but it's like in the scope of the Marvel Universe, like that's a big thing, right? They're like major universal galactic beings, but since they're not very popular characters, they don't really have much to do in the book. So like it's almost like Gillen's like, all right, so yeah, then they come back to life, and then they deviants and the whole thing. So I really am enjoying that. I think maybe now that I'm saying it out loud, I am reading into it, but it's more fun for me, isn't it? So that's the important thing. Actually, the important thing is, what did I do with these signs again? All right, everybody. I didn't mean to go this long this time, and I'm not kidding. All right, bye. Wednesday in love. Bye.